Hello and welcome to our final video of the semester. During this, we'll be implementing two different types of animations and going through the process of implementing those. So the first animation that we're going to be showing here is our procedural animation. So we have our training robot here that when you click on this button, he will offer us a smoke grenade that we can then pick up and interact just like how we normally would with any of our other scenes that I've been doing throughout the semester. So our second animation is a keyframe animation. We have this bird over here that is snuck into the room and is just kind of idly hanging out. And then when we move within a certain distance, he will become aware of us and will kind of take on more of a alert or worried action. So we're going to go through and explain how this animation is created first. We're going to look at our animator controller that we created for the bird. So here it is. So the animations that I downloaded from the Unity Asset Store didn't have a set idle animation. So I essentially created my own here using this watch animation, which is when the bird is looking around the scene, and this preen animation, which is when the bird kind of tucks its head underneath its wing for a split second. So these two will cycle back and forth through each other. And then we have our worried Boolean parameter that gets set to true in our proximity to animate script. So whenever the camera rig moves within a certain distance of the bird, it will set the worried parameter to true, which will then in either state of these two, it'll transition over into the worried state, where the bird kind of has that more alert, subdued animation occur. So our second animation is then our procedural animation, done with our robot here. And to do so, we're using our proximity to, or not our proximity animate, our forward kinematic script that was talked about in class. We have 7 different target transforms. The first 4 correspond to the actual arm of the robot. The second 2 correspond with the fingers. So rather than have the fingers straight out, I curled them up so it felt more like the robot was holding the grenade. And then as the animation goes on, the robot kind of opens their fingers up a little more. And then, of course, the last one is the actual smoke grenade itself. So that way the smoke grenade will follow along the arm throughout the animation. So we're going to switch over to Visual Studios here real quick. And I had to make 2 modifications to the script that we were given in class. The first modification I made was adding this set animate function. And essentially the reason I did this was so that way I could trigger the animation while I was in the scene, which if you look back and see, it was when I clicked on the button that was next to the robot. That button, when it's clicked, calls this function and sets the animate variable to true. The other change that I made was adding this if statement here, so that way when the runtime reaches the animation time, it stops the animate, it sets the animate variable back to false, so that way this code no longer gets executed. And the reason I did this was because I noticed when the user would interact with the smoke grenade after the animation occurred, once they dropped the smoke grenade, it would just start sliding across the floor. And I realized this was because the animate function was still being set to true, or the animate variable was still being set to true, so the code was being continuously executed. And because you would be grabbing the smoke grenade and moving it, the transform position would no longer be equal to the ending position, so it would be constantly trying to move the object around. So setting this to false makes it so that way that no longer occurs. Thank you very much, and have a good one.